Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who bring you all of the wonderful local products we enjoy, brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau.
Virginia hard cider is growing in popularity, and you don't have to wait until fall to enjoy it. Virginia apples are fresh and ready to eat or bake. And rural Virginia is home to thousands of historic barns.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you from Adams Acres Produce Farm in Dinwiddie County, where they're getting ready for the fall season. Burke Muller reports that there are plenty of Virginia-grown cider options for those of you who want to enjoy a crisp, light drink with the fall breeze.
When it comes to adult beverages, consumer tastes are continuously changing. Virginians in their 20s and 30s are looking for alternatives to traditional beers, and that has led to the rise of the craft beer industry over the past decade. Now a portion of consumers in the craft beverage market like an alternative drink to enjoy on a brisk fall day. A decade ago, there were only 7 cideries in the state. Now there are 3 times as many. The interest in alternative beverages is a big factor for that growth, but there's also the fact that some cider fans enjoy it all year round. Old Hill Cider has been creating apple cider since the 1960s, and 9 years ago they began adding alcohol to some of their blends.
We have the apples, we had our press. Since we have that, then why not try hard cider? They decided to add the hard cidery for self-sustainability, so now we can sell hard cider all year long. Of course we make it in the fall, but the tasting room's open all year.
Old Hill Cider is part of Showalter's Orchard in Rockingham County. The 40-acre property produces more than 25 varieties of apples. Most of the apples used in the cidery are grown on site, and the soil in the region creates a special kind of apple.
There's thousands of types of apples, but the specific ones we grow here some of them are for hard cider making, so that means that the tannins, the acidity, things like that are really important to making ciders.
The site also features a covered meeting space and spectacular views of the Shenandoah Valley. They try to keep a steady income stream year-round.
We are known in the spring for annuals, perennials, bedding plants, starter vegetables. We have a ton of things going on. Around here, the biggest thing is our new event space. It's an agritourism destination. We do pick your own apples. It's very family friendly.
One way to find cideries in Virginia is to visit ciderguide.com. Farther north and east of Old Hill Cidery is Hinson Ford Cellars, which produces cider and mead on site in Rappahannock County. Dennis Kelly says many of his customers are looking for a new experience.
In particular, the dry style that we make, the majority of the ciders that are out on the market right now are a little bit lower in alcohol but have a lot more residual sugar, so they're almost like an alcoholic soda. And people are really relating to the dry style where you don't have the sweetness, but you have just the amazing apple flavors that come through.
People with specific dietary considerations can still enjoy cider without some of the side effects associated with beer and wine.
A number of people seek out cider because they are either gluten intolerant or celiac, so it has that advantage over beer. Cider is a little bit lighter, a little bit less alcoholic than wines are, so it's a lighter alternative to that. And I think there's just a general curiosity about it. It's not something that's well known in the United States.
But Kelly says Virginia's northern Piedmont region has a rich tradition in cider craft.
Back in the late 1800s, Rappahannock County was kind of the apple center of the United States. And for a number of reasons, the apple business in the United States kind of moved out to Washington State. There are still, the remaining orchards have some really nice varieties of apples for making cider. So part of what we're trying to do is encouraging those orchards to hang in there, you know. And one of the great trends that we've seen in the last few years in the United States is it has moved from bulldozing orchards to make cow pastures or condominiums or whatever to orchardists actually planting cider-specific variety of apples to serve the growing cider market. So we're really delighted about that.
Hinson Ford also makes meads, and Kelly says he's working to change the perception some may have of it as being a heavy, syrupy drink.
We talk about making lawnmower meads, where you come in after mowing the lawn, you want something refreshing to get the dust out of your throat that's not going to paralyze you. Mead is something you have on Tuesday night with leftovers. It's not just for celebrating the melding of two warring clans.
Whether it's cider or mead, Virginia's robust agriculture products are encouraging both entrepreneurs and multi-generational farms to create new, innovative, and refreshing ways to quench your thirst. In Rockingham County, Virginia, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.
Virginia Cider Week is November 15th to the 24th in 2019, but you don't have to wait until then to enjoy a glass. More than 20 cideries are now operating across the Old Dominion, including several right in the orchard where the apples are grown. Virginia is the 6th largest apple-producing state in the nation. Hard cider was a common beverage in colonial Virginia, and cider producers are planting several historic apple varieties, like the Royal Pippin, to try and recreate the unique flavors of those times.
I'm Mark Viette. I'm going to talk about how easy it is to gather seeds from your garden, to store them, and to use them next year.
Farm Bureau is the insurance provider of choice for farmers. But did you know all Virginians can benefit? In fact, most of our members are not farmers. Members may take advantage of discounts on selected autos, trucks, mowers, and tractors on top of the many insurance offerings. Your $40 membership will easily pay for itself with their many savings options as well. Farm Bureau is made for Virginians. To learn more about the membership advantage, go to vafb.com or visit your local Farm Bureau.
If you pay attention to your garden and you watch your plants flower, in many cases when they're finished flowering, they're going to produce seed that you can harvest. It is important that you harvest the seed before it falls to the ground. You can do this with your perennials, your annuals, even your native plants. This is Rudbeckia Goldstrom, and the seed is ready to harvest. You just go in with the hand shears and you prune them. And put them in a paper bag, just like this. Now you can do this with your redbud trees, you can do this with your hollyhocks, you can do this with baptisia, and many native plants, even including maybe the native milkweed that the monarch butterflies love to feed on. Once you take your wild indigo, and you can hear the seeds still in the pods. You want to collect this, as I've done, before they fall to the ground. This is the fun part. Put it back in the bag, kind of seal up the bag, fold it over, lay it down, and you just take your hands and crush it, get all your frustrations out, just like this. And everybody's got a colander, plastic or this type. Set that here and go ahead, take your seed that's been really crushed. Then, to store it, some of your leftover plastic containers, just take it, and you put this in a nice dry garage. Got to make sure the seed is dry, and you store it till when you're ready to use the seed. There are lots of different black-eyed Susans, many different types. Some are short, some are tall. Collect the seed and do the same thing. You're going to take it and crush it. Commercially, they have machines that do this. I probably have 10,000 seed here, maybe more. And just store it dry, just like this. Last thing, if you have native plants, like your native milkweed, you can collect. In fact, I had someone call me. They had monarch butterflies. They had no more milkweed left for them to feed on, and they wanted to bring the caterpillars to my farm, which I said was fine. But you can collect the milkweed seed and store it just like these other types. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com. Delicious Virginia apples are in season again. Chef John Maxwell says you can enjoy them baked, but not in a pie. Next, in the heart of the home.
And now, a sneak peek into a day in the life of a Virginia dairy cow. They get their day started. They have some lunch. Get some exercise. Spend time with their friends. And then end their day with dairy sweet dreams. Real dairy, real life, real delicious.
Virginia apples make great pies and desserts. This year, Chef John Maxwell decided to experiment with apple bread with delicious results. In the heart of the home.
Hi, welcome to the Heart of the Home. I'm John Maxwell, and we're here at Meadow Hall, Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia, where every week we get a chance to play with some great Virginia food. We're doing apples today. It's a beautiful time of the year for Virginia apples. We're going to make an apple bread. It's really an interesting, not yeast risen, baking soda and baking powder risen bread. All right, so I'm going to start with the flour in there. I'm going to add some eggs. You can add these ingredients all you want. I got a little vanilla extract, got some salt, got some cinnamon, got some apple cider, and some vegetable oil. A little bit of milk. And we're going to just mix this all up. All of this can just get combined together. If you've got a bread mixer, you would want to put it all in there. Although we don't want to mix this too much because we're not going to try and stretch the gluten out to make it a firm bread. This is a more of a fragile textured bread. So we've got this. I'm going to add some sugar to it because this is supposed to be sweet. About 3 ounces. Mix that around. And now, because it's going to have to jump up, I'm going to add the baking powder, the baking soda mix. All right. And mix that up. So we got a nice batter texture. All right, we don't want it to be too thin, but this is a little thick, so we're going to need to thin it out with a little bit of milk. You could use apple cider if you wanted to, but I'm going to use a little bit of milk. I'm going to get that all mixed up good. What I wanted to do is be the right texture so that the apple bits that go in it will be held in structure and won't all sink to the bottom. All right, so this is pretty well mixed up. I'm going to fold in the apples. At the end, I need to add a little bit of butter. I got this all melted. I'll stir that in. All right, this is mixed up nice. I don't want to beat it too much. Like I said, we don't want this to be a gluten-driven bread, or it'll make it too tough. So I'm going to take this and now scoop this into this pan. I've already buttered it so that it has two purposes when you butter a pan for bread. One is to make it slide out, but the other is to help caramelize the outside edge, which is what makes the outside of the bread brown. So it's got the sugar to do that along with the heat. All right, there we go. That's all full up. Now it'll rise up, so we don't want to overfill it. Get this out of the way. All right, now it's going to make some noise. You want to do that to drive the air bubbles out so that it doesn't expand in there and make holes in your bread. All right, so we're all set now. This goes into the oven. And it's going to take about 40 minutes. All right, so I pulled it out of the oven and let it cool for a little while. It took about 40 minutes, so it's cooled off now some, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I'm going to cut this right on this plate. And so it's in place. There's one slice. And I've got some camera people who are standing around there casting shadows with forks. So this is it. This is apple bread using our wonderful Western Virginia apples. Join us next week on Heart of the Home, where we get a chance to play with some great Virginia food.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com, as well as on Chef Maxwell's website at chefjohnmaxwell.com. Apples have been raised in Virginia since colonial times. In the 20th century, apple production became concentrated close to processing and shipping plants in Winchester. Today, apples are grown from the mountains of southwest Virginia up to the northern tip of the state and into central Virginia. In addition to fresh market and juice apples, there are many pick-your-own orchards, farmers markets, and festivals where you can purchase fresh Virginia apples. They're also popular overseas. Virginia was one of the first states to sell apples to Cuba a decade ago.
You see them as you drive along a country road or the interstate, an old barn. Dave Miller reports that the history and purpose of these buildings offers a fascinating window into Virginia's rural past.
Barns are typically the oldest and largest buildings found on farms, and often the most important. In Shenandoah County, some historic barns depict how land was used and document the cultures of farm families who settled in the region.
Behind me is the oldest documented barn in Shenandoah County, Virginia, with a documented date of 1772, a pre-Revolutionary War, two-crib log barn.
Actually, I was born on the farm, and so I've seen it from birth up. It's been interesting because my father made various changes throughout, but it was a place where we played, worked, it's part of my life, a major part.
The Schaum Farm log barn from 1772 was built in the style of barns in Switzerland. The notch and groove corners were often done by men whose only jobs were to make the grooves fit perfectly together. The most common barns in Shenandoah County are the 4-bay bank barns with a ramp that leads to big sliding doors. But it's just too expensive to build log or timber barns now, so it's more common to see pole barns or metal shed buildings being built.
The barns of Shenandoah County document the settlement and agricultural history of this intensely agricultural place. They are actually icons of the culture that worked so hard and farmed this land for generations, actually for centuries now. So we're really fortunate that so many old barns survive in our county. We can see this.
During the Civil War, the Union armies had a policy to burn the barns of the South as a way to inhibit agriculture and thereby hurt the South's ability to continue the war effort.
As you know, the barns in the valley, some of them were burned, and there was Custer's troops came down through this area burning the barns. And this barn was not burned because a neighbor of the Psalms, the story was related to that that the troops were here, but that they had a medal or a certificate, which says to me that they were probably members of the Mason Society, and both sides honored that during the Civil War.
The barns were a focus of community as well. They were often built by neighbors together and come from an era when people helped each other without thinking about pay and things like that. So they symbolize more than just the pure farming history, but also the cultural history.
Many historic barns have begun to deteriorate, and because of the cost to repair and maintain them, they often end up on the bottom of the landowner's spending lists. Often when new landowners move in, they just don't have the resources to remodel or repair historic barns. Eric Riley's barn has a Shenandoah limestone foundation.
Both my parents' families have been in Shenandoah County for over 250 years, so we've always had that connection to the community. And when my wife and I bought the surrounding land that we're on, it came with this barn, and it didn't look like this about a year and a half ago. It was very dilapidated. It was in danger of coming down on itself within a few years. We recognized it was too nice of a barn to just let that happen to it, so we really kind of felt a responsibility to save it. And we have 2 kids. My daughter's in 4-H here locally, and so she has a few horses, and we thought it's a great place to do a lot of things. Whether we do event space down the road or we use it for agricultural purposes, but it's got that utility function, but it's also really a work of art.
Our barns are our culture, and we're an agricultural county, and this is the most important agricultural building in any farm. And the fact that so many survive make Shenandoah County a truly special place.
The historic barns in Shenandoah County date from the 1730s through the 1950s. Over 240 barns have been surveyed so far as part of the Historic Society's program, with hundreds more to be included. The goal is to document these magnificent structures and to assist the owners in finding ways to preserve or document them for future generations. For more information on the program, visit schs1795.com. In Shenandoah County, this is Dave Miller.
We're so glad you could join us to celebrate all the bounty that Virginia has to offer. From your kitchen to your garden to our wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is real Virginia. So from everyone at the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching and make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
We have 37 parks across the Commonwealth. Every year, 10 million visitors enjoy 600 miles of trails from beaches to mountains, hundreds of cabins and campsites, even yurts. We are Virginia State Parks.
You're going to need me. You're going to need us. All of us. You're going to need our technical skills, our math, our engineering skills, You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food. You're going to need our organizational skills, our problem-solving skills. You're going to need our determination, our honesty, our compassion. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
There are 30,000 roadway accidents each year involving cars and farm machinery. Farmers will be moving equipment for planting and harvest season. The slow-moving vehicle triangle in red and fluorescent orange colors and flashing lights allow for quick identification. When you see an SMV sign on farm equipment, slow down, prepare for sudden stops and slow turns.
Patience will save lives. Just remember, we all need to share the road, we all need to be responsible, and we need to be guided by the law.
Motor vehicle safety starts with you.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.